Here are 5 stupid things I've noticed since last time. Congress continues to dick around on gun control. 4 months have passed since the President of the United States and leaders in Congress agreed that the horrific mass murder of 26 people, including 20 first graders at Sandy Hook Elementary School, was a wake-up call telling them they needed to get off their asses and finally do something about gun violence. So what have they done with these past 4 months? Well, just last week, the Senate voted on a series of amendments to a gun control bill, 3 of which would have banned assault weapons, limited magazine capacity, and expanded background checks. All 3 amendments failed. The proposal to expand background checks, a bipartisan amendment, fell short of the necessary 60-vote filibuster-proof majority, with several Democrats crossing party lines to vote against it. Behind many of the no votes was the fear that the amendment would put us on a slippery slope to government gun confiscation. That's right, the United States Senate rejected sensible, responsible, and it must be said relatively mild gun control legislation because of a paranoid conspiracy theory. Someone please tell me it can't get any worse. That fucking Brad Paisley and LL Cool J song. This might be worse, actually. At the very least, there's an analogy to be drawn here. If the continued failure to act on gun control represents the nadir of our political process, surely Accidental Racist represents rock bottom for country music. Or at least the most recent rock bottom. Every time I think country music can't possibly sink any lower, along comes someone like Brad Paisley with a crate of dynamite under his arm and a pickaxe. Pray for Boston. Almost as soon as news broke of the bombings during the Boston Marathon last week, social media websites were crawling with status updates, tweets, and blog posts from celebrities, political leaders, and of course religious leaders urging people to pray for Boston. I appreciate the sentiment behind that, but the fact is, if all you've done is pray for Boston, you haven't actually done anything to help anyone. You've just pretended to help. If you really want to help people affected by those bombings, consider making a contribution to an organization that is really offering help to people affected by those bombings. For instance, the One Fund at onefundboston.org, or the Disaster Relief Fund of the American Red Cross. Maybe you could even use this terrible act of terrorism as motivation to donate some blood or make a small financial contribution to your local chapter of the Red Cross to help ensure that it is prepared should disaster ever strike your area. I'd say God forbid, but like all prayers, that would be a waste of breath. Alex Jones suggests Boston Marathon bombing is a false flag. We move from one waste of breath to another. This is an unusually cohesive episode. In the immediate aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombing, as emergency responders were still tending to victims and police were sorting through the rubble and confusion, struggling to understand what exactly had just happened, Alex Jones took to Twitter to declare that the bombing stank to high heaven and suggested that the entire thing was a government-orchestrated false flag operation. Now, I know that Alex doesn't actually watch my channel, but with your indulgence, I'm going to pretend for a moment that he does. This is just between me and Alex. Hi, Alex. Fuck you. If you want to be taken seriously when you declare an event like this to be a false flag, you have to explain how, in the bewildering first minutes following such an event, you can tell the difference between a false flag and a genuine act of terrorism. And if you can't do that, you will continue to be regarded by most of us as a self-promoting, shit-for-brains caricature of humanity at its most paranoid and deluded. Oh, and fuck you. The 24-hour news cycle ruins journalism. Alex Jones wasn't the only one talking out of his ass following the Boston bombing. There was also CNN, which repeatedly reported that an arrest had been made in the case when, at that time, no arrest had been made and no law enforcement officials were saying that an arrest had been made. That's pretty embarrassing, but that is what TV news has become thanks to 24-hour cable news networks. The news used to come on for half an hour a day. And not all that long ago, I can remember when you had to wait for the news to come on. Now the news is on all the time, all day, whether anything is happening or not. And the pressure to fill all that airtime is apparently so great that the reporters and editors and producers responsible for those segments are willing to let the little things slide. Like verifying that the shit they're reporting as news is actually, true. The hardest part is only picking 5. Catch you next time.